Howdy folks, TJ here. Amiga Day at my house. Well, for at least a little while during breaks. But tomorrow maybe I'll have more time to do some fun things with my AmigaOne X5000. If you've been watching my videos, the most recent thing that I did is I upgraded from my older Radeon XD7750, I think it was, to the RX 580. Did some videos, showed how I can now play high-definition video movies on my big screen. That was fun. That was all the starting point for my madness of something I wanted to do on my X5000 for a while. Now, who here, probably you, I bet you probably like it, enjoy booting and running multiple operating systems on computers? My fascination with that goes back a long time ago, probably when I had my Atari STs. I don't remember back in the 8-bit days of me ever running any alternative operating system on my Atari 800. If there was even one. Maybe there was some CPM or something, but I don't remember ever delving into that. But when I had my Atari ST, my Mega 2 ST, I became a Jackintosh. And if you're not familiar with Jackintosh, I'm wearing my Atari shirt while I'm working on my Amiga. Blasphemy! But my Atari was a Jackintosh. And what's that mean? Well, it was a early, cheaper, faster version than a Mac Plus. You could take an Atari ST and slap on a Spectre device, Spectre GCR in my case, and make it a Mac computer. So not only did I enjoy my Atari world, I also could use some cool applications, businessy applications that one may enjoy, because I could run Mac programs directly on my Atari and even read and write floppies. It was really cool stuff. So running multiple operating systems has always been something I've enjoyed doing. And in the world of Amiga, it's no different. When I used to own, and I no longer do, an Amiga X1000, I sold it off, and I thought I was done with Amiga at that time. I was a little discouraged. I was a little tired of the shenanigans, we'll call them. So I sold it for a fair price, moved on. But little did I know I'd be pulled back in by buying an X5000. Am I happy I did? Yes and no. I mean, there's times that I'm still, even though I've got my mind in a good state of mind now, and I know what this computer is, what it can be, and the likelihood of the final outcome of it, I'm enjoying it more. I'm no longer worried about what my original vision was, that I could buy an AmigaOne X or AmigaOne X1000 and it become a workhorse of a work computer at my home office. I could do things that I should be able to do, at least, compared to my other computers. It never lived up to that because I'm very heavily based on the internet. I need to access Google Drive, and I need to be able to grab files, put files on there, use Google applications on the internet. I just launched, for the heck of it, on my Amiga X5000 Odyssey web browser, which is the most recent capable browser on here, and I couldn't access my Google Drive. I know I tested it long ago, but I was reminded that, no, you're going to get a message saying, this browser's freaking too old, it can't do diddly squat. So needless to say, I can't work from home using it. So I've got plenty of other computers. That's what I've done. But MorphOS, if you're following the world of Amiga, you've got Amiga OS 4. I'm not going to say 4.1 update 2. It's just Amiga OS 4. But you can also, on the Amiga X5000, run MorphOS. And if you're not familiar with MorphOS, it is an alternative Amiga-like operating system. In many ways, it looks, to me, sexier than Amiga OS. But for whatever reason, I gravitate towards the common sense, easier approach to Amiga OS. You've got a dev folder for devices. It makes sense. You've got a system folder for system files. It makes sense. It just seems like I can navigate Amiga OS 4 easier than I did MorphOS. I've tried MorphOS before. I purchased an older little Mac Mini computer, and I actually purchased a license for MorphOS, and that goes back to like 3.0 days of MorphOS. And it was nifty. It was sexy. It could do some things, and it looked more Mac-like, I guess. But it was still Amiga, and you could run Amiga games and stuff. It was cool. But I found that I just gravitated again more towards, if I'm owning an Amiga One, I want to run Amiga OS. That's just me. That's not saying one or the other is better or whatever, but the more the merrier is the way I look at it. So goal one was to slap an RX 580 in here, make my Amiga OS experience better. I can now watch videos at a higher resolution, and hopefully in time, the multi-core capability of the Amiga X5000, there's a 2-core version, which is what I own. There's also a 4-core version. If they ever finish, whatever, I know it's user people, putting a lot of time in here, but it just seems like it's never going to happen. Even as much work as they've done, it's so many decades later now. You can't use more than 1 core on an Amiga One, or even MorphOS for that matter. Whatever 1 core, your fastest speed is what you're going to do. But maybe one day that will give a spurt of life into the Amiga X5000, and folks that have an Amiga X1000. It'll be cool if you got 2 cores, well, maybe there's a way to make that 2nd core do something more than heat the room. It'll be cool. And if we meet that day one day, I'll be excited, but I'm not holding my breath. So until then, we're going to enjoy what we've got. So RX 580, Amiga OS, I'm maxing it out as much as possible. Obviously, you see my case here is not one that came with my Amiga X5000. They used a different case. I went balls out and I purchased a Thermaltake View 71 all glass. It's, to me, sexy. Some people probably don't like it, but it is big. But you can see the insides of it. You've got fans that have colors. I love the colors. I'm easily entertained, so that's why I probably like Candy for the enhancer software that you can get for your Amiga One. I like little jibby-jibbies. Some people don't. They just want to be command interface. They want to click on something and go to work. I don't consider my Amiga a work computer anymore. Can it be one day? Maybe, but I'm no longer, again, holding my breath. So I'm here for the frills. I'm here for the quick operating system. You move, you click, it does stuff, you play games, and you can watch movies, you can listen to music. I'm just going to use it for that for now. But MorphOS is the one thing that you can say that MorphOS is better than Amiga OS is they do have a newer browser called Wayfair, and it's based off of, to my knowledge, a higher WebKit, whatever you want to call it, than the Amiga OS Odyssey is. I'm not guru with the WebKits and all this stuff. Needless to say, though, from what I gather, and I asked this question in the MorphOS group, can you use Wayfair and actually use Google Drive and Google Email? And they said yes. So I want to do that. Maybe my X5000 computer, I can dual boot. I can boot off Amiga OS when I want to. I can boot off of MorphOS when I want to. Experience that culture, that group, and also be able to use Wayfair maybe to do a little work, even if it's a little slower. I don't know. It may not work at all. I'm going to be seeing it. So what do I got to do that? I got to dual boot. And I'm about to sneeze, so excuse me. So I had to buy another video card. So nothing's ever easy. So MorphOS does not like an RX 580. It doesn't like a Radeon HD 7750. You got to use a different video card. The AmigaOne X5000 has one 16X PCIe slot, which is using my big old Radeon, and it's going to stay there. But there's a 4X port, and with the magic of a little cable that I've purchased from China that has a connector like this, side 90-degree angle. I don't know if this is showing up, but here's the cable. This will plug into the 4X slot, and this longer cable will then, on this end, is a 16X card slot where you can plug a 16X video card into. Now, it won't have the full paths as a 16X. It's going to be maxed out at the 4X because the X5000 doesn't have multiple X16 slots. So with the magic of this cable and the magic of this huge case, you can side mount a video card in here, which I've purchased because of MorphOS. It takes a much older video card, but this is the one recommended. And you'll see that it says Sapphire Radeon X1950 Pro. This video card's supposed to work well with MorphOS. So I purchased one used on the Fleabays. I'm going to put that as a second card in this AmigaOne X5000. In this case, there is a side mount bracket that I put in here, and I'll show you briefly here in a moment, that you can stick your main video card, if you like, with a patch cable. I shouldn't call it patch cable, but an extender X16 cable to a side mount so it looks pretty in your case. But for me, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave my X16 slotted with my best video card I have in the house. I'm going to side mount this Radeon card because you can actually have two video cards in here. It's just you have to do it a little bit. I'm going to call it hokey, but it's not. I mean, I'm using a valid, nice-looking cable, and I'll connect this up. That's going to take a 4X to a 16X. I'm going to have the Sapphire here side mounted, and I'm going to tell my AmigaOne X5000 through the magic of software to boot up to MorphOS when I want to, or Amiga OS when I want to. And believe it or not, I can slap a Linux on here too. Now, I've got a 2014 Main Gear, very old computer, but it's probably the most powerful computer in my house, over there that runs Linux Ubuntu 23.10, the most recent version. So I really don't need Linux on here, but if I want to ever get frisky, I could add another hard drive. I've got a PCI card, a PCI slot card that can add more SATA ports to here. There's only two on the motherboard, and I'm using both drives. One for Amiga OS. I'm going to use one for MorphOS, but I've got this card. I'm pretty sure I purchased it years ago. I don't know where it is, but I'll find it, and I can slap that in a PCI slot and run that over to another hard drive and boot Linux if I want. That will be a future thing. For today, I wanted to talk to you about my goal. I'm going to open this and just show you the innards of my X5000 as it stands now. I'll turn off the video. I'll connect all this up. I'll turn it on, and I'll try to boot MorphOS from the USB stick I've done. The booting part's going to be later. I just want to get this installed and show you what I'm doing. And then maybe I'll make it all part of the one video. I'll boot up off a USB stick and say, hey, I've booted. I'm off USB stick now. Now let's try to install MorphOS on a hard drive in here and see if I can get a dual boot. That will be another video afterwards. But I'll at least try to boot with two video cards in here and it successfully booting off a USB stick utilizing this second video card. So let me take this phone off the camera. So the beauty of this case, you can actually remove this glass plate, but there's just a couple of thumb screws on here now, and it pivots. Let me take this off here. Hopefully I've been recording all this time. Yes, I have. So here's dust and all. My can of air is no longer, and I don't have one of those super little vacuums that you can convert to dusting and blow stuff out. So I need to blow this out, but here's the innards of my Amiga X5000. I've got a couple of hard drives in here, only one connected right now. I have one that's kind of a backup that's bootable if I ever need to connect it and run it. But there's other bays on here that I can, like I said, I can add a PCIe or PCI slot card and add some more SATA drives there. Here's the bracket that will allow me to, you'll see I've already removed them. These are just your typical slots for video cards or whatever PCIe cards. I'll be able to mount here a cable, that cable I showed you earlier, and I'll be able to plug the Sapphire card in there, the Radeon X1950 Pro. Here's my nice Radeon RX 580. It's going to stay there. But the hard part is, and you can't see it, but the 4X slot is underneath the Radeon card. It's really close to it. So that's why you need a 90-degree extender to be able to push in there first. I'm going to have to take out the Radeon. I'm going to have to insert the cable into that 4X slot, run it and connect it here, the X16 side, and then plug my Radeon back in, and hopefully there's clearance and everything to make it work. But here's the wonderful, is it Cyrus? Cyrus is the X5000 video card, not video card, motherboard. But, you know, here's what an X5000 in this big case. I got plenty of room. I've got plenty of places to connect SSDs on the opposite side, SATA hard drives here, nice big old RGB power supply, plenty of power, 750. The X1950 Pro does need power. It's not PCIe only powered. So fortunately, I do have some extra places over here I can connect a cable to and be able to power this video card. And that's it. So let me plug this back in over here. I think we've seen enough of the guts. And then we'll wrap up this part of the video. So there we go. Okay. So that's why I like this case. There's a lot of room to play in. So anyway, that's my goal. So I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to try to get everything connected up in the next day or so. And then I'm going to try to boot up from MorphOS. I've got a USB stick. I forget which one it is. It's this one or this one. See, I should have wrote down what these were, but I didn't. I was stupid. I'll figure it out. Anyway, thanks for watching up till now. And we'll get this ball rolling and hopefully one day have a dual boot Amiga X5000 so I can enjoy Amiga OS and MorphOS. So thanks for watching. Bye. All right, hopefully you're getting me this. I've got it on wide angle because I wanted to show you two monitors. I have successfully booted up from my USB stick. And so I thought I would chat about a little bit more about what I did. I'll take the camera off the tripod, show you my board inside. Everything went fairly smoothly. Only hiccups that I really had were that cable that I purchased, the 16X extender cable. There's little screw holes on it that you would typically screw to your chassis someplace. The Thermal Master, what the hell is it? What's the name of this? Thermal Make. I've already forgot. It has its own brand of cabling. So I'm guessing the bracket that's in there is the holes line up for its bracket. This one that I purchased from China, even though it looks very similar, the holes are not in the same spot. So I was not able to screw in either side for the card to successfully fit in where it is, and I'll show you that in a second. But it's fairly secure, so I'm not too worried about it. I also, when I booted, this big 4K monitor, it's not a monitor, it's a TV, works perfectly fine with my Amiga OS. When I booted it up to MorphOS, the text was very hard to read, and it looks like it may boot it up in a 640 by 480 mode or some smaller mode that this TV just did not like. I was able to read it enough to where I went into the settings in MorphOS, and I haven't done that for many years, so I didn't really remember where it was, but I found it. I was able to read enough, and I selected what I thought was 1920 by 1080. Selected it, hit the test button, and it showed beautiful. I clicked save, the screen went black, and it would no longer show MorphOS. So, step number 2 was, and from my friend Skateman, thank you for, again, guidance since you've done this before. I've been communicating with him. He's given me lots of pointers on what I need to do to make this all work. So he runs it off of 2 different screens. Because what happens is when you boot up off of the hard drive for Amiga OS and using the RX 580 card, it's booting off of this screen. But the second that you tell it to basically boot from MorphOS, you lose connectivity here, and you need to send the video out another card, which it does all automatically, but you either need to have it on the same TV and switch HDMI ports manually, which I did, but I didn't quite get it the way I needed to go, or connect up a second display. And the second display then shows it. So I'm hoping what I can do is after I install, because I haven't installed MorphOS yet. I basically booted up from the USB stick, which was a major step. Once I do that, I'm going to set it up on this monitor over there. with typical high resolution, 1080p, and save it, and then hopefully it will boot up from this TV so I don't have to run it off of two monitors. But if that's what happens, then so be it. So I wanted to show you now what I have inside. It's fairly clean. So let me show you inside, and then what I'll do is I'll show you what you have to do to I said boot up from MorphOS, and then we'll end this video here, and then video number 2 will be actual installation on a hard drive, because this video is already long, and I talk a lot. Talk. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up this. So now inside, you can see the Sapphire X1950 Pro video card mounted vertically on the side, and the cable, only thing I need to figure out, these cables that I received with my power supply have 2 leads. One that I connected up to the video card there, and then a piggy tail. I don't know if this piggy tail has the same exact wattage and amps and all that crazy electronic stuff, I don't know, where I could just plug this one into this card. I wasn't sure, so I had a second port on my power supply, and I ran a second cable, which also has a piggyback on it, to it. And that's the way I've got it connected now. But after maybe somebody watching this will be able to say, yeah, you should be able to just, because I think this would reach here, and I could remove this cable, or one of them. Anyway, it looks pretty cool on the side. It is a loud card. So if you hate sound, if you hate fans, well, I've got so many fans on this computer, but they're relatively quiet compared to that little son of a bee. It is loud. But again, I went with the card that most people say was the best choice. Here is that little cable end, the PCIe X16. You'll see there's a hole on the left and on the right, and there's no screws in there. I could not get them to line up, and if I got one lined up, the card wouldn't fit snug as a rug in over there. Snug as a bug in a rug, yeah. So right now, it is secure enough. It's fairly secure. If I started wiggling, pushing on this side, sure, it's going to bend a little bit. But this side is fully connected and screwed in at the top, so it's fairly firm in there. And the cable snapped into place well, so I'm not too worried about it. And the whole cabling, you're not going to be able to see, but you can kind of see. There's the Radeon card. Here's this card. There's plenty of gap between it. The cable that comes out of the bottom here goes all the way over and connects to the motherboard, and it fit. So I was able to put my RX 580 card back in. The cable connected here. So that's what she now looks like. And I may be able to clean things up if I can find out if I can just use this piggy tail, and if it offers all the same voltage wattage, and that it's allowed to have a second video card plugged in. Otherwise, I'll just leave it be. So that's that. Let me go ahead and put this back in the tripod, and we're going to boot up the computers. You're not going to see really close to the screen, but I wanted you to see close enough to where you get a general idea of what's happening. So that monitor on the left is on. Did I start this recording? I mean, I just had to. Yeah, of course I did. Turn on this TV. And that's an actual HP monitor over there, 34-inch or whatever, 32-inch. So computer. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Now I've got this crappy, icky keyboard connected. I've got a nice RGB keyboard, but it will not let me hit the escape key to go into early boot screen. So I have to put this cheap little $6.99 keyboard that I purchased from Fry's Electronics, may they rest in peace, years ago, because it actually works. So I always save this keyboard. So I hit escape key, and it takes you into the early boot screen. Again, you're probably not seeing this close up, but that's fine. I'm explaining what I'm doing. You have lots of choices. You'll see Start Amiga OS, Start MorphOS, Start Linux, Boot Options, System Info Command Line. Maybe I will focus in on the screen a little tighter. And then we'll pan back out. How's that? Okay, so Start Amiga OS. So tip number 1, if I remember right, years ago, because I've had this computer since 2016, there was an update I had to do in order to boot up off of USB Stick. So if you've never done that, and you've got it as old as X5000 as I do, you better check with AmigaOne and make sure that your system is ready to boot up off of an external stick, because you may need to do an update there. I did it long ago, and it does work, so apparently I remembered I did do it, because I had to make a Amiga OS boot stick in case I ever needed to emergency boot up. So start Amiga OS, start MorphOS, start Linux, boot options. I'm going to go down to command line. So there is a little command line you need to do. You hit that, and up there is a little prompt. You can't probably read much going on. Do you need to see it? Just believe me what I'm saying. No, I'll focus in. Son of a beeswax. It makes it harder to make videos like this, but maybe you'll see a little better. I don't know. Anyway, you need to type in USB reset. You need to reset the USB, because I have it plugged into the back motherboard, not an external little USB. I plugged directly into the back of the motherboard my USB stick that I downloaded, MorphOS 3.18, the version that works with the X5000 for USB stick. And I'm going to type in here USB space RESET, USB reset. It's going to probe the USB ports, scanning devices. It's going to go through all the motions. It found 5. Scanning bus 1 for devices, and 1 storage by found, and it's back to the prompt. I now type in AMI, and it takes you back to this boot screen. Now I'm going to select Start MorphOS, and if all goes well, it should chat to my video card over there. I've got that TV on over there, or monitor, so let's see what happens. It's been resting for a little bit, so Start MorphOS. This screen will come and show you this data, and then right after it says loaded, boot cyrusplus.img from HDIMG, you'll see, voila! Oh, was that even in the screen? No, it wasn't. But the music to your ears, there you go. I've got now a MorphOS installer on the second monitor. So that's how you basically do it. So I need to move my mouse around. And do I have my mouse even on? Nope. I'm going to select English. And now I am in a very low resolution. You hear it sing it to you? So the sound right off the chute from my external monitor, or external speakers connected to my AmigaOne, did the sound right off the bat. So now, this is where I'm going to end this video. You'll see what I had to do to get this far. Next video will be, I'm going to actually put the camera up close and go through these installation options. Skateman has given me lots of tips on what I need to name things, what I need to do. And I'm going to try to install it on an internal second hard drive. My AmigaOne X5000 is booting from a small 120 gigabyte SSD. I have a 500 megabyte SATA SATA hard drive in there that I'm going to try to install MorphOS on from this USB stick. So, thanks for watching this video. So there you go. You now know my story. You now know more than you probably asked for, but I've successfully put in multiple video cards in this computer, and we're going to try to install MorphOS on an internal hard drive and be able to boot up this computer by holding the escape and selecting what operating system I want to boot into. And I can choose that day what I want to do. Hopefully I can get it all working on this after I get it installed over there. Like I said, I could barely read it over here. So this TV did not like the resolution this USB installer was outputting. It just said no. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.